Phillip Light. I live in Denmark, WA. My work is dance movement therapy, and my work is with the elderly, people with disabilities and people with Alzheimer's. I started when I was a teenager doing Israeli and international folk dance, and then for many years I just danced to my favourite reggae bands. Discovered West African dance from Senegal, from West Africa, and I trained for 3.5 years in Munich, Germany, with Mamadou Fall, who was choreographer and dancer with the Senegalese National Ballet. Came back to Australia. I ended up teaching African dance workshops for kindergarten children and schools and adults. Then I studied dance movement therapy, and I've been doing that ever since. What I love about dance is it takes me out of my head and the incessant thoughts in my head and gets me into my body, and it gives me a sense of peace and contentment. No anxiety when I dance. For many years I've worked as a dance therapist and as a disability support worker. I always had a rapport with people with autism. I really got on well with them. They got on well with me. I could never understand why I had such a good rapport with people with autism. And then for quite a while, I eventually realised that I'm higher on the autistic spectrum than the average person. I was wanting to have that confirmed, but I didn't know who could do that for me. And then eventually I found out that in Albany, which is 50 kilometres away, there was one neuropsychologist who could give such a diagnosis. And so I had several sessions with her. We had 1 or 2 more sessions to go, and then she said that she had to stop practicing because she had a medical issue. That was really disappointing because I was left in the lurch with my diagnosis. And so I started researching Aspergers syndrome, and all the questionnaires that I did, and the reading the books and speaking to people in town with Aspergers syndrome, watching movies on the subject and documentaries, I realised that it was very much me. And so the questions on the questionnaires were questions that all my life I'd never been asked, and I'd never seen those questions. And for me it was just so enlightening to actually have questions that actually deliberately targeted exactly what I experience in life, all the struggles and difficulties. In the last month that I've found the psychiatrist in Albany that is very knowledgeable and sensitive to people with autism, and he's given me my diagnosis. This community, the people here, it's the most supportive community I've ever been in. So there are lots of people who are attracted here, who have various mental health issues and various neurological issues. It's just a very welcoming, embracing community, and I feel blessed to live here. The performance is called the Beauty Index. The performance is about how men use beauty to cope with war and terrorism and the crazy world events that are going on these days. The terror, the fear, the joy, the suffering and the trauma, helping the audience to see that there is a positive way to deal with that within ourselves. We have a very talented and gifted choreographer, Annette Carmichael. She's very experienced at bringing out emotion and feeling for the audience. It's very healing and sometimes confronting in people, helping people to look at those issues rather than keep them suppressed, because in our society the media encourage us to suppress and not react to what's going on. This sort of brings it to the surface, and it allows people to look at it in a constructive way. Finally finding out why I'm different from the average person has helped me so much. It's been a massive relief. Since my self-diagnosis, I've had spontaneous flashbacks of all the fallings out I've had in my life with people where they were left with me not understanding what had happened and why people stopped wanting to have relationships with me or wanting to communicate with me. And they just came back to me spontaneously, one by one, and I now could understand them and understand why. So I have a lot more hope for the future because now I know a lot more about myself and I can share that and talk about it with my prospective partner.